So myself, Dr. Purnesh will be handling the first the certain parts, certain topics along with Dr. Bhagesh, whom we have had interaction in the last class. We both belonging to team one and will be handling this course together. So you can always address your queries to both of us uh, regarding the course. So I'll be starting with the first part of this course, that is optics. We all know that in the part of the course we have interference, diffraction, and polarization. So before going into the topic, it's better to have a look at the fundamentals. Uh, Wave optics. So you can see over there on the right side an hummingbird feather, right? So the color in many of the hummingbird feathers are not due to the pigment. Okay, the iridescence that makes the brilliant colors that often appear as the bird's throat, the throat, uh, and belly is due to the interference effects. So basically, it's because of the interference effect you can see these colors, which is generally caused by the structures in the feather. So the colors will vary depending upon the viewing angle. So we'll be discussing the concept of interference in this chapter. So the reference book, as I mentioned earlier also, is it remains the same. That is the Physics for Scientists and Engineers with Modern Physics. So coming to optics, so generally we can say you have studied some kind of optics in your +2 levels or the school levels. So we all know that wave optics are generally known as the physical optics. You can say that optics can be divided into physical optics and geometrical optics. So wave optics or the physical optics generally involves the study of interference, diffraction, and polarization of light. So these phenomena, which will not be able to explain by the other one, which is geometrical optics, sometimes which is also known as called the ray optics, where you will be basically will be studying the lens and mirrors and other aspects of it. So in the syllabus, we will be restrict our discussions to wave optics. So before going into the details, so let's start with the fundamentals. Can anyone tell what is a wave in simple terms? Anyone? I hope I'm audible to you.
It
Yes,
is a
yes,
dis
Okay.
yes, sir, you are
Uh,
audible.
yeah, fine. So can anyone tell me what is a wave?
it
So
is a
disturbance of
disturbance in any
particles.
medium.
Disturbance. Okay. So true. A wave is can be defined as a disturbance which is self-sustained and that can propagate in a space with a certain speed or a constant speed. So we can classify the waves into three categories. They are, the first one is we can call it as the mechanical waves. The second one is known as electromagnetic waves, and the third one is known as matter waves. So the first one, that is the mechanical waves, it is a case where that exists only within a material medium. For example, sound wave is a good example for a mechanical wave. In this type of waves, it involves motions that are governed by Newton's law. Second one, which is electromagnetic waves. These waves involve propagating the disturbances in the electric and magnetic field, which are governed by Maxwell's equation. Okay, so the first one is by Newton's law, the second one is by the Maxwell's equation. And unlike the previous, like mechanical waves, this electromagnetic wave does not require a material medium, right, to propagate, and even it can travel in vacuum. So examples for electromagnetic waves are visible, infrared, X-rays, gamma rays, and so on. So all the electromagnetic waves propagate in vacuum with same speed, which is of 3 lakh, 3 to 10 to the power of 8 meters per second, or 3 lakh kilometers per second. And the third one, which is known as the matter waves, uh, in this is kind of a way where you will be able to see in generally when you are studying the quantum mechanics, that is when all microscopic particles like electrons, protons, neutrons uh, have associated have a wave associated with them, uh, governed by Schrodinger equation. So the first one is governed by the Newton's law, that is a mechanical wave. The second one, electromagnetic, is governed by the Maxwell's equation. The matter waves are governed by the Schrodinger equation. So you'll be studying about the matter waves, like any form of matter also exhibits wave nature. So that's what we are going to study at a little later stage. That is at the end of at the beginning of the quantum physics. We will be introducing what is the matter wave. So continuing with waves, so you can see as a simple wave diagram, a wave has been represented over here with directly propagating along one particular direction, and how we determine the amplitude of a wave and the length of the wave is represented in this image. I hope it is clear to you. Okay. So we know that an electromagnetic wave consists of electric field and the magnetic field vectors. You can see here the one which is represented in the orange is the electric field, and the one represented in the blue is the magnetic field. Generally, we all know that E cross B gives you the direction of the propagation of an electromagnetic wave. And lambda is represented over here. You can see the wavelength of the wave is represented by the term lambda. This is a spectrum of electromagnetic spectrum. You can see from radio wave to gamma rays. You can see the wavelength starting as long as 10 to the power of 3 meters. And if you can see the region of gamma rays, you have 10 to the power of minus 12 wavelength. So large wavelength is shorter wavelength. This is a shorter wavelength regime, and this is a longer wavelength regime. And the same thing if it is in the frequency, put it in the frequency domain, you can see it somewhere around 10 to the power of 20 hertz in case of the short wavelength radiation, and whereas in case of the radio wave, it is of 10 to the power of 4 hertz. So the one below, which is shown over here, is the part of the visible spectrum, which is of our current interest when we are discussing about the interference and diffraction and polarization. So we'll be mainly restricting ourselves to the visible spectrum of the electromagnetic spectrum. So that means visible spectrum is ranging from we can say from violet, right? Violet to red. So this that is 400 nanometer to 700 nanometer is the range of the visible spectrum. Okay, so once you know a wave, we should be able to write down the equation for the wave. And similarly, we write it out to the matter waves at a little later stage when we are discussing about in the quantum physics. So now we'll restrict it to interference itself, and we can write the equation for a wave propagating along x direction can be written as y of xt. Xt is nothing but the displacement, along which direction is propagating, and t is the time. So the, y itself is a displacement at a given position and time is a function of ym sine kx minus omega t. So x is the direction of propagation, and ym is the amplitude of the wave, and this entire term is the oscillating term. So this term is the oscillating term. So, and you have something called phase, which is marked over here. You can see here this kx minus omega t is the phase, and where x is the position and omega is the angular frequency. So please don't confuse the frequency with the angular frequency. Omega is 2 pi f, f is the frequency, omega is the angular frequency. And coming to the phase of the wave, you can see that in this case there are two different waves. One is represented in blue, the other one is represented in green. And since we all know that there is a path difference or a phase difference due to because they're not starting together, so we can say that one wave is leading or one wave is lagging. So you can see what is the difference in that case is related something we call it as the path difference. If you know the path difference, you can compute the phase difference. Suppose the path difference between the two waves is lambda, so then the corresponding wavelength will, corresponding phase will be 2 pi. So we can write the simple expression as path difference is equal to lambda by 2 pi the phase difference. So the moment if you know what is the path difference, you will be able to compute what is the phase difference or vice versa. So if you know the phase, you will be able to determine the path. If you know the path, you will be able to determine the phase. So this is a relationship between the path difference and the phase difference. And you can see here how this
Hello.
one.
Sir, will you send this
Yes.
PPT because we are not noting this down?
No, it's already recorded. You can make a note of it, and it's in the course material. Okay, it is in the course material. Okay.
Okay, sir. Thank
Certain
you.
things I've added as a fundamental to start with. This is we expect that you should know it, but still when we start with
Yeah,
any
this
new
is fine.
topic,
But just in case if we had to
it's
write
all
something down. So.
no, it is every, if you want, we can make a note of the relation. That would be good enough. Okay, a small,
Okay.
for example, this relation you can make a note of it. That is a good enough. Okay.
Thank you.
So remaining thing, everything is there in the course material itself. Fine. In the course
Yeah.
material,
Thank you, sir.
everything is given in the course material in detail. And for more details, you can refer to the textbook. Okay.
Okay.
So you can see here one wavelength has been represented. It's you can say it's one full wavelength is represented over here. You can see it is 360 degree or 2 pi, and if it is 0 at this point, and if it is at this position, it is 90, and corresponding if it is at this position, you have at 180, and when suppose if you're starting from here, okay, like this 0. If you go to reach here, it will be 90 degrees. And the moment you come here, so this will be at this position, that is at 180 degrees. And from here to here, it is then when you're making a rotation over here, it's 270 degrees. And once you complete the revolution, it will be 360 degrees. So that is how we can assign what is the phase and the path difference by looking at the two waves. So this is a general expression which will take care of it. So we'll be able to compute either the path or the phase if you know one of them. Okay, so you can see there in the image itself, I kept an image of a butterfly, a beautiful butterfly. So it's all because of the optics and combined with the nature, which gives us a visual treat, right? So you can see the color of the butterfly, which is in blue, of course, is very related. You can interference. So how does the interference process take place? We going to study in this chapter in detail. So the objective of this chapter 1 is to understand the principles of interference. So many a times you will be seeing many phenomena which is around us, but we will not be realizing that this may be pertaining to interference or some other topics which involved in physics. So will be this chapter is basically aimed to understand the principles of interference, and we also look into the intensity distribution in interference under the various conditions, and we also at the end look into how the interferences take place in the thin film. Okay, so that is at the last, and that will be the application to it. So we will be basically you'll come to know what are the applications of interference in thin films towards the societal benefits. So that is at the last stage. So before going to the interference chapter, it's always better to know something called Huygens postulate. Can anyone state the postulate? What does Huygens postulate state or explain? Can anyone?
Sir,
Yes, please go
so
ahead.
how so Huygens postulate was that every time the wave travels by creating wave fronts, sir. So it was basically on wave propagation that the source has a so the primary source forms wavelets which are the primary source forms wavefronts, out of which this then which are act as secondary sources which further form their own wavefronts. So that is how the propagation of wave takes place, sir.
So we'll good. So we'll continue with that. So you can see here you have a old wavefront. We call it as a primary wavefront. After a certain time t, you have a new wavefront, and these are the sources of disturbances, right? So wavefront is nothing but a continuous locus of points which are in the same state of vibration. So these are the this is a wavefront. It's a wavefront A, the old wavefront, and this is the new wavefront B, which is at after the time t. So we define the wavefront as the continuous locus of points which are in the same state of vibration. So all the points should be in the same state of vibration. We call that as a wavefront. So each point on the wavefront, for example, each point on the wavefront generates a new spherical wave. So all these points on this wavefront generates a new spherical wave, and the common tangent, if you draw to this secondary wavelets, you will get the position of the new wavefront. That is basically after a time. Say, if you draw the tangent, that's what we have been done, dB dash. So you will get the position of the new wavefront. So, as I was discussing in the earlier, we all know that light is a transverse electromagnetic wave in which electric fields and the magnetic fields B oscillate in phase and perpendicular to each other, and they are perpendicular to the direction of propagation. You can see in this diagram. Please note, if this is a direction of propagation, and you will see here that the electric component and the magnetic component are in phase, but they are perpendicular to each other. They are not actually out of phase, they are in phase, but they are perpendicular to each other as well as perpendicular to the direction of propagation. And generally, as I mentioned earlier, E cross B will give you the direction of propagation. If this is the electric field and this is the magnetic field, so that is in this direction in the current case, so E cross B. So E cross B will give you the direction of propagation. Okay. So E cross B will give you the direction. So the visual sensation of light is due to the electric field, and as such, in discussing interference, we'll generally considering the superposition of electric fields, not the magnetic fields. So basically, we are talking about the visualization. So it's basically which is originates from the electric field. So we'll keep our discussions with respect to electric field. So now coming to two-source interference. So when two or more waves superimpose in a region of space, then the resultant amplitude of the field at any point is nothing but the vector sum of individual amplitudes of the waves, and the intensity at that point is proportional to the square of the electric field amplitude, right? So in a given region of space, if n number of waves, so two or more waves undergoes superimposition, so the resultant amplitude at that point will be nothing but the addition of two amplitudes of the wave, and the intensity will be nothing but the square of this resultant amplitude. So what is interference? So we can define interference as the redistribution of light intensity when two or more similar waves superpose at a given region of space, and the waves which are superimposing are called the coherent waves. So the interference we can say as a constructive or a destructive, depending upon what kind of intensity is formed and the region. So for example, if the net intensity is greater than the individual intensities of wave 1 and wave 2, then we call it as a constructive interference, and we call it as a destructive if the net intensity, that is the resultant intensity, due to the two or more waves is less than that of the individual intensities of the wave. So another thing which is very important which governs the interference phenomena is coherence. You can see we have taken an infinite wave. This is a section of an infinite wave, and a wave train of, this is a case of a wave train of finite length. We know the length of the wave, it is of, say, yeah. So this is an infinite wave, is a finite. So for interference pattern to occur, the phase difference at the point on the screen should not be changing with respect to time, right? So if you're on a you are visualizing some pattern on the screen, so if the pattern should remain same, in that case, then the phase difference of the wave also should remain same or constant. If the phase difference keeps on changing, then the pattern which is on the screen will be flickering or keeps changing. So for that interference to happen, that should not happen over a time. So this is possible only if you have the two sources which are completely coherent. So we can say the two sources are completely suppose if the two sources are completely independent, then you will not see any kind of a pattern on the screen. What will be there? The screen is nothing but a plain illumination over the screen. This is because the two independent sources are completely incoherent. So we can say.
Sir, can you please move back to the previous slide, the slide before coherence?
Yes.
For just a minute. Thank you.
Okay, I hope you are making note of it. Okay. So two independent sources can't be coherent. We will see how to produce the coherent sources from little while from now. We will see what is coherent. We can say two waves are said to be coherent if they are able to maintain a constant phase difference. That is, the phase difference between the two waves is not changing. So for this to be true, waves must have the same wavelength and they should travel in the same direction and comparable amplitude. Okay, so please note, for a good amplitude is not a necessary condition for coherent waves. Please keep that in mind. For a good interference pattern, it should be of comparable amplitude or same amplitude. So interference will take place even the amplitudes are slightly varying, but in order to be to have a interference pattern, you should have same wavelength and they travel in same direction. So coherence is necessary for producing stable interference pattern. Okay, so one thing is it should have same wavelength of frequency and it should maintain a constant phase difference and should be traveling in same direction. And it is good if you are able to have both the waves are of similar amplitude. You will have a better interference pattern on the screen. But that is not a necessary condition as far as the mandatory condition as far as the stable interference pattern is concerned. So as far as the coherence, it should have constant phase difference and should have same frequency or wavelength and should be traveling in the same direction. So coherence is a necessary condition in order to produce a stable interference pattern. If there is no coherence, then there is no interference pattern. Even coherence is subdivided into two parts, that is what you can say spatial coherence and temporal coherence. So you can look into the textbooks little later. So just for an information, so coherence also we can divide the coherence into two categories. What we call it as a spatial coherence, that is coherence over a given space, and temporal coherence, that is the two ways if you are able to maintain the coherence over the period of time. It should not happen that the source is such that for first 30 minutes or so it is coherence and after some time it is not coherent. So a temporal coherence is concerned with respect to time and spatial coherence is concerned with respect to space. In a given a region of space, whether they are able to do that, whether able to maintain the condition to produce a stable interference pattern. So coherence depends on the length of the wave train. So if the longer the wave train, then the degree of coherence will be more. Okay. So the coherence depends upon the length of the wave train. The longer the wave train, the degree of coherence will be more.
Sir, can you please once repeat what is a wave train?
This is what, if you take a section of a wave, and if the, for example, if you're taking only a wave train of only a finite length, okay. If this length of the wave train is sufficiently long enough, then the degree of coherence also will be good. If you have a shorter wavelength, wave train, then you have a degree of coherence also decreases. Just a minute. 1 minute. I'll get back to you. Yes, sir. Yes. No, yeah. We'll get back to just a minute, sir. You shift us here. Okay, I will continue. Okay. So somebody was asking about the wave train, right? Okay.
Yes, sir. It's clear.
If you consider a wave, an infinite wave, if you are taking only a portion of the wave line, right? If this wave train is of instead of a finite length, in the sense, of course, if it is able to be as long as if the length of the wave train is large, then the degree of coherence also increases. If the wavelength train is less, then what will happen is the degree of coherence also will drop. I hope it is clear.
Yes, sir. It is clear.
Generally, it taken a section of an infinite wave and a portion of the wave train. If the wave train's length is infinite, then it is good. Longer the chain. Okay. So if you take common light sources, emit wave trains of finite length. Let us say few millimeters. So any ordinary light source, if you take, it is of only few millimeters. Accordingly, the degree of coherence is less. A best example is a laser source which has a longer wave trains. The length of the wave trains are longer, not few millimeters. It is a few centimeters to meters, few centimeters. So in that case, the degree of coherence is large. That is why the laser has higher degree of coherence when compared to any other ordinary light sources which we have. So you can see the two sources. We have a coherent source and you have a incoherent source. You can see that how the wave trains or the waves are being superimposed and forming a stable pattern, and you can see here in case what will happen in case of a incoherent source. So these are the two differences. A good example for a coherent source is a laser, which has high degree of coherence, basically due to the coherent length of the wave train is large. So as I was mentioning earlier, unlike the conventional light sources, they are not coherent compared to their coherent length, which have few millimeters. If you take the laser light, you have it to few centimeters to few meters. So that is why you are using laser light for many applications because of their high degree of coherence. So the degree of coherence is very important in telecommunications and holography. Telecommunications, we all know that it involves long distance communication. So where it's necessary that it has have high degree of coherence. And of course, in creating the holography, the coherence plays a very crucial role. If it is not able to have a good degree of coherence, then the creation of holography becomes difficult. Okay, now, so now you know what is coherence.
Hello,
What are
sir.
the
Can you explain what is holography?
holography is, you have seen the holograms, right?
No, sir.
That is an application, one of the application which is used to produce a type of what you can say, a sticker-like thing which is being used. You might have seen in the, for example, identification marks. It will be like a finger impressions. Okay, that is to check the originality of the documents. You might have seen some white color.
Okay, sir. Got it.
Yes,
got it.
yes. To create that, they will be using the laser lights to create that impressions. Okay, which will tell you the original or duplicate. So holography is used over there.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
So now, can anyone tell me? Now we are talking about the coherent wave. How to produce it?
Sir, by illuminating slits by a same source.
Illuminating by same source. Any other? Any other method?
Sir, Polaroids.
Polaroids.
Sir, by dividing a wave using partial reflection or refraction.
Partial reflection or refraction. There are two ways to produce it. So let's discuss one by one. For simple is, I think you got the mark cards by this time. You may have some stickers. Okay, three-dimensional stickers. That's an example for an hologram. Have you received your mark cards of +2, 12?
Yes, sir.
You might have seen the sticker over there, right? It's a 3D sticker,
Yes,
right?
sir.
That is a simple example for hologram. So it will have some information which are done using the principle of interference, where the coherence is crucial in creating that 3D image. Okay, that's a very good example. Maybe your plus 10th mark card and 12th mark card will be having those, and even of course even the emission certificates and all which is issued, which each as a hologram. Okay. So regarding the production of coherent waves, there are two methods. So we all know that we can't use two independent sources. They can't be coherent because in these sources, the fundamental light emission process occurs in individual atoms, and these atoms don't act together in a cooperative way. So hence they are not coherent. So we can't use two independent light sources and create a coherence. So there are two methods to do that. The first one is yes.
Sir, even if the light sources are identical, can we not
Yes.
have coherence?
No. Even if you take two coherent sources and place it side by side, you will not be able to produce a interference pattern. So the basic reason is the atoms, individual atoms in these sources will not act together and in a cooperative way. They are not having a synchronization between the two. There will be a difference in the emission process. There will be time lag or time difference will be there. So the only way is to do is from a single source and try to build a what you can say, a coherent wave. So there are two things which we call it, as you already have mentioned, that is illuminating through a slit. So that is called the division of wavefront. The second one is known as the division of amplitude. These are the two methods in generally used to produce coherent waves. So we will discuss one by one. The first one is the division of wavefront. So the division of wavefront, a very good example is which everyone has studied or known is Young's double slit experiment, where you have two slits, as one of our students was mentioning, illuminating the two slits with a wavefront. So you have the two sources which is coming out of the slit 1 and slit 2. We can call them as a source 1 and source 2. Since they are originating from the same wavefront, so they will have same wavelength, they will maintain the constant phase difference, and since the originating source is the same. If we keep two different sources, they will not be in phase. So that's why it is even if you have two independent sources, you will not be able to get a interference pattern. So this method is known as the division of wavefront. So in this case, you will see that the eigenwavelets from the two slits, slit 1 and slit 2, are perfectly coherent. Yes?
Once can you show previous slide?
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. So there are two methods, as I was mentioning, that is division of wavefront and division of amplitude. So you can just make if you want to make a note of it, you can just make a note of these 2 points. That should be good enough. Okay. So this is the first one, that is the division of wavefront is one of the way to produce the coherent waves. The second one is division of amplitude. Can you anyone tell me how to produce coherent waves using division of amplitude? I have given you the clue. Can anyone build upon it? Yes.
Sir, the biprisms.
Biprism. Okay. Then?
Sir, diffraction.
Diffraction. Okay. So some of the experiments are Newton's rings experiment. All works on the principles of division of amplitude. In this case, light is reflected from front and rear surface of the film, and they are perfectly coherent. That is, if you take a glass, okay, a beam splitter, beam splitter. You can take a beam splitter that will act as a division of amplitude. If you take a beam splitter, if a light is made to fall on one of the beam splitter, so we take this as a beam splitter. BS means beam splitter. So it's kept at some angle, let us say. So some portion of light is reflected, some portion is transmitted. So if there will be a coating in the beam splitter. Okay, there will be coating. Sorry, there is a coating in the beam splitter. So one portion of the light will be reflected, one portion of light will be transmitted. So here the splitting process will take place. So that depends upon, there will be a coating over here. Either you will have the two waves of equal amplitude or unequal amplitude, depending upon the type of the coating and the transmission of this particular beam splitter. A beam glass also will act like a beam splitter. Generally, the glass will transmit 90% of the beam and will reflect a small portion of the beam. Generally, we take a good quality glass or a quartz, and it will have some kind of a coating which controls the amount of transmission and amount of reflection. If this is a 50% and this is also 50% transmission and 50% reflection, that is what generally people will look for a good interference pattern. As far as an interference pattern is concerned, the two waves should be of same amplitude, preferably same amplitude, and are from same wavelength. Since we are originating this is a original wave, and if you take this is a original wave, then you have a beam splitter. One wave is transmitted, the other wave is reflected. So the transmitted and reflected wave are originating from the same. Just a minute, somebody has. Please mute yourself. Okay. Only if you have any queries, please unmute. Otherwise, keep the mic off. Okay. So the transmitted and the reflected one will they have, you can adjust the reflectance and the transmittance depending upon the type of the beam splitter. You can have a 50-50 beam splitter, 50-30, 70-30 like that. So generally for interference, it's better to have a both waves of similar amplitude. So this we call it as division of amplitude. A good example is Airways, Newton's ring, and even in thin films also you will see that if you take a film, one wave getting reflected from the top surface, another wave getting reflected from the bottom surface. So this is where the division of light starts. Some part of the light is reflected from top surface, and again some part of the light is getting reflected from the bottom surface of the film. So which you are going to study in maybe in the next class or so. So this is another way of producing the coherent waves. That is either by division of wavefront or by division of amplitude, are the two ways to produce the coherent waves.
Sir.
Yes.
Sir, in this, the reflection that is happening inside the glass bar. Yes, sir. Beam.
There is a beam splitter, and it will have a coating. Okay, there will be a coating over there. There will be thin film, thin layer of coating will be there. Okay.
Okay,
like
sir.
Some portion will be reflected, some portion will be transmitted. So the thin layer of coating will determine the percentage of transmission. Okay.
No, sir. I'm saying the second time after the beam that has entered the that one that is reflecting, sir. Is it happening because of TIR or there's a coating on the bottom surface
Not
also?
at the surface of the film, at the surface.
And the bottom parts are from where the second reflection takes place.
Which one? See, this one. You're talking about this.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
See, yeah. Oh, this diagram. You're talking about the thin films, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. See here, there will be if the film is transparent, there will be a further transmittance and there will be a further reflection. Okay, and it will be multiple reflections will be happening like this. Okay, this I'm just showing. This already I have shown over here. So this is the reflected. This is the transmitted. Okay, it will be something like this. If a ray of light comes, partially get reflected, then this is refracted, then again reflected, then it comes refracted, again at this boundary, again get reflected, then refracted, again. There will be multiple reflections. Okay, a single wave, if you say that if it interacts with the medium at the boundaries at this junction, okay, at this junction it is split. It is this is reflected, this is refracted, and again at this boundary, this is refracted and this is reflected. When it comes to this boundary, this is refraction, and again what is reflected back. And again at this junction, some part of light will be reflected back, some portion of light will be refracted back. So this multiple reflection will be continuing in the film. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. So we'll be discussing this in the later stages. Okay. So when we discuss about the thin films, we'll be discussing about the phase shift and other things. So in order to get two coherent sources, coherent waves, there are two methods. You remember that. That is, one is by division of amplitude, another is by division of wavelength. So we have a wave 1 and let us say a wave 2, and the combinations of wave 1 and wave 2, you can see they are synchronized. So definitely you will get a constructive interference. So in this case, you have the present one is of 0. So even if you have 2 pi, so this is one wavelength, right? So even the phase difference is 2 pi. So like this, you will get constructive interference. Okay. So this is lambda, that is 2 pi. This is 4 pi. Suppose if it is like this, sorry, the diagram is unable to draw it properly. So you can see here, even if you have the case of this is of 2 pi difference, this is of 4 pi difference. So even the phase difference is of 0, 2 pi or 4 pi, or corresponding path difference is 0, lambda and 2 lambda, you will have a constructive what you can say interference pattern. For the different destructive interference pattern, you will see that if it is pi or 3 pi or 5 pi, if you draw the same over here, you will get a destructive interference pattern. So for constructive, as I was mentioning, the path, if once you know the phase difference here, then you'll be able to compute what is the path difference. So the path difference is, if the phase is 0, the path is 0. If phase is 2 pi, the path is lambda. If the phase is 4 pi, the path is 2 lambda. Similarly, for the destructive interference, we take set pi, 3 pi, 5 pi, and so on. So for these phase differences, you have corresponding path differences like this. So that means these waves are in phase, and these waves will be 180° out of phase. So we can write down the condition for constructive interference as path difference is equal to m lambda, and for destructive interference we can write m plus half lambda. I hope this is clear. Any queries till now?
Sir, in destructive interference, shouldn't it be m plus 1 into lambda by 2?
You put the condition, it should be ready. When you put m is equal to 0, you'll get lambda by 2.
Oh, yes, yes.
As long as this condition for corresponding, see, if you put, however you write, you write the value should not change, that's all. In whatever the mathematical form you represent it, the concept of corresponding phase and path difference, this equation should hold good. This above equation is there, no? However you write, in some cases you may write 2m plus 1 lambda in different forms. They would have written in different forms. That doesn't matter. As long as whatever the mathematical form, in the form you represent, the end result should be the same. If you put the phase difference is pi, then the corresponding path difference should be lambda by 2. So just substitute here. Suppose in this case, let us say if the phase difference is for example, the path difference, if m is equal to 0, or let us say m is equal to 1, what will happen? It is 3 lambda by 2, right? If it is equal to m is equal to 1, it is 3 lambda by 2. 3 lambda by 2 means it corresponds to phase of 3 pi. Fine. Any query?
No, sir.
Okay. So we'll start with these fundamentals which has been laid down till now. We'll use these things in upcoming discussions in the upcoming sections. The first one we'll be starting is with the Young's double slit experiment. This experiment is named after the person who demonstrated this, is by Thomas Young in the year 1801, and so the double slit experiment is known as the Young's experiment. In this case, you just see how difficult it was. In those days, he used sunlight as a source for the experiment. In this experiment, what he did was he allowed the light to pass through a slit and then to allow to pass through the two slits. You have the primary wavefront over here, and then you have the two slits where you are producing the coherent waves by the method of division of wavefront. So this is an pictorial representation of the result of Young's double slit experiment. You can see wherever there is a overlapping, you will see get a bright band, and wherever there is a cancellation, you will get a dark band. So this particular experiment demonstrates that interference is a wave property of light. Okay, so there will be some experiments we will be discussing about the particle nature, and that is that little later. So interference is a wave property of light, which is demonstrated by the Young's double slit experiment. Please note that there is something I was mentioning, Young's double slit experiment revisited. There you will be doing the experiment with particles, and we'll be seeing whether we will be able to reproduce the same pattern or not. So please remember, I will be recalling this experiment at maybe after some 5 to 6 sessions. After the 5 to 6 sessions, the same experiment will revisit, but in a different concept in the quantum mechanics.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
So could you please go a bit slow?
Fine.
Thank you, sir.
I hope you are able to hear me.
Yes,
Voice
sir.
is clear
Yes, sir.
to you? Voice, okay, fine. So the same experiment will be revisited when we are discussing the particle nature, that is wave nature of particles. At that point of time, we'll be redoing this experiment, but in a different scenario. So at that time, I will be recalling this discussion. I hope that time you'll be able to answer few queries which will be raised by me. So let us consider a train of plane light waves is made to incident on two narrow parallel slits. So observe this condition. The condition here is A is very, very less than the wavelength of light. So keep this. This is an important thing which you need to remember. Then, and these two sources are separated by a distance, say d, which is greater than the wavelength of light. So you will see an interference pattern on the screen consisting of dark and bright fringes. So why I'm mentioning this particular condition, which is mentioned in the arrow mark, is an essential one, because this is a condition where we are neglecting the diffraction effects into consideration. In this experiment, we have relaxed that, we have assumed that diffraction effects are negligible. That is possible only because of the condition which you have chosen, that is the width of the slit, which is very, very less than that of compared to the wavelength of light used during the experiment. So the moment you relax this condition, you will no longer get this pattern, but there will be a diffraction pattern. So this pattern will no longer remain the moment you relax this condition. So we'll relax this condition, not in this chapter. In the next chapter, we relax this condition of A comparable to the wavelength of light. Then we will see what actually happens to the pattern which is seen on the screen. So there also you will see a pattern, definitely with not with some changes. So what are those changes will happen when the condition is relaxed? We will see it later stage. As of now, please remember in our discussions in the entire chapter, the width of the slit is assumed to be very, very less than the wavelength of light used in the experiment. Okay, so we can see there are three scenarios which is shown over here. That is the A, B, and C. And in the first case, you can see, to observe the interference of two waves from two sources, there are certain conditions to be met. So that is, the sources should be monochromatic. That is, they should be single wavelength. That is not at all a problem, because the two sources are originating from the same light source. So that is taken care. The second one is they must be coherent. That is, they must maintain constant phase with respect to each other. Again, that problem does not arise because we have used the division of wavefront technique, where both the wavefronts are originating from the single wavefront which originated from the one source. So that should not be a problem because they will maintain a constant phase. So these two things are taken into consideration. So we will be able to observe the interference of waves from these two sources, since both the conditions are satisfied. Okay, so now we'll analyze the pattern on the screen. So let us consider a point P. At point P, there is some pattern which is formed over here. Let us see. We'll apply the mathematical model and have a look at it. So now, if you see the two waves which are arriving from source 1, that is slit 1 and slit 2, obviously you all agree with me that the light, so that the wave which is traveling from slit 2 has to travel an extra distance compared to the light wave arriving from the slit 1. So this has to travel an extra distance. What is this extra distance? That is called the path difference. This will decide whether at the point P we will have a bright spot or a dark spot or any other in between, depending upon what is the path difference over here. So we can write this path difference as, we know this angle as theta. If we define sin theta, we can write down what is the path difference over here. Right? If this distance is d, if this is delta, sin theta is delta by d. So we can, since the viewing screen is at a very large distance, we can assume these two rays as parallel. The L is very, very large. Okay, it will be in few meters or few centimeters compared to the separation between the two slits. This will be in few millimeters. This will be in few centimeters to meters. So we can treat these two rays R1 and R2 as parallel. So condition for constructive interference at point P is, so as I was mentioning, if that d sin theta if it is bright, then at this path, the path length should be equal to m lambda. That is 0 plus m is plus 1 plus 0 plus plus or minus 1. That is plus 1 in the sense I'm talking about the fringe pattern on both the sides, above and below, with reference to O. And suppose if it is destructive at the point P, then the condition is such that this path difference delta d sin theta should be equal to m plus half lambda. So in that case, you will have a dark point, so dark band at point P. So whether the P is bright or dark depends upon what is this path difference delta, that is the d sin theta. If this is equal to multiples of lambda, then you will have a bright, and if you have a multiples of half lambda, then at the point P you will have a dark fringe. So we call m as the order number. So now linear positions of bright and dark fringes. From the triangle OPQ, so we can see this a triangle is this I'm talking about triangle OPQ. We can write tan theta is equal to y by L. So this is y and this is L. If you define theta, this triangle we are talking about. Sorry, this is a triangle we're talking about OPL. So tan theta you can say opposite side by the hypotenuse, you can see y by L. So is the tan theta. So we can write y bright is equal to L tan theta bright, assuming that at the point P we are having a bright band. So in that case, we can write tan theta as bright, and we can write tan theta is equal to sin theta at small angles. I hope all of you will agree when the theta is small. Even I think you can check your calculator, sin of theta and tan theta at small angles. It takes sin 1 degree, sin 2 degree, or so. Maybe if I'm correct, maybe around 8 degrees or so. You will see that the values are same. So a small angle approximation at the small angles, we can say sin theta is equal to tan theta. So in that case, if it is bright, we can write it as m lambda. That is at small angles. And if it is a dark, we can straight away write that y dark is equal to L into m plus half lambda by d. And if it is bright, it is L into m lambda by d. So this is the part difference. So if part difference is leading to bright, we write as m lambda. If part difference is leading to dark, we can write it as m plus half lambda. Now, what is the distance between the adjacent bright fringes? Delta y is equal to ym plus 1 minus ym. We have y1. If it is next bright fringe, will be 1 plus, let us say 2. So it will be 1 plus 1. So it will be 2. So you will see here that the separation between the adjacent bright fringes will be lambda L by d. So what will be the case of dark fringes? Can anyone tell me? What will be the value if we consider it as a dark fringes? What is the distance between the adjacent dark fringes? Anyone?
It will be same, I guess.
Yes, it will be the same. So the separation between the either the bright or the dark fringes in Young's double slit experiment will remain same, because the fringe separations are the same. In the sense the fringe widths are the same. So you will see that the separation between either any two bright fringes or any two dark fringes will be lambda L by L. Please note, this is delta y, that is separation between adjacent bright or adjacent dark fringes. This equation y tells you the position of mth bright fringe, okay, or this is the position of m dark fringe. M can be 0, m can be 1, or m can be minus 1. When I say plus 1, it is on the above 0. If it is minus 1, it is below. So the first bright fringe above or below the reference point 0. Reference point O. Okay. So I hope any queries before we moving on to the numerical section? I would like to have a few questions from your side so that we can clear it. Yes.
So, sir, delta y is equal to the fringe width, no, sir?
Fringe separation. Sometimes it's called beta.
So, sir, how is it different from fringe width?
Generally, that's it's called as a fringe width only. So generally, we avoid referring to it as a fringe width. We'll refer it as a fringe separation. The center of one bright fringe to the another bright fringe. That's right.
Okay.
For example, I'll just show you somewhere here. Yeah, somewhere from here to here. That is how we call it as fringe separation.
Okay, sir.
Or you can, if for your convenience, you can keep it fringe width. Nothing wrong in it. But generally, the nomenclature is the fringe separation.
Sir, this interference periodic in nature.
Yes. Please be little louder. I am not able to hear you.
So, sir, this interference pattern will be periodic in nature.
Periodic in the sense? In what sense is periodic? I'm not getting.
Sir, the period of this thing will be the fringe separation. That is, after every
Yes.
fringe separation.
Yes, it will be same. It will be same as long as I told you, the condition of A is very, very less than lambda is maintained. Okay. That condition is then neglecting the diffraction effects. The fringe separation across will be roughly the same. Generally, please note, ideally it is very difficult to get an ideal interference pattern. Under certain approximations, that is true. Any fringe separation, if you take, it will remain the same, as long as diffraction effects are negligible. So please note, in the current scenario, we have neglected the diffraction effects. So by choosing A as very, very less compared to the wavelength of light which is being illuminated over the slits. Any questions before going into the numerical? Shall we proceed? Yes?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what we will do is, so this is the first numerical. I'll give a 5 minutes break to you, so you can work on it and we'll get back to you. Okay? That's fine? A 5 minutes break. Is it fine? You need not to leave the meeting. You stay in the meeting itself. You can take a 5 minutes break. Then we will discuss. Those who want to continue, you can continue with working with the problem, and you can have a 5 minutes break. Now it is 3:08. So we'll. I think the session was little elongated. So I was expecting a break around 2:50 or so. The session took little longer. Fine. Nevertheless, I'll give a 5 minutes break to you. Then we will rejoin with this numerical. We'll rejoin at 3:30. We'll resume our discussions at 3:30.
So,
So, hello. So, we'll resume the session. Okay. Hope you have solved this numerical. Anyone? What is the answer?
Sir,
281.
Okay. So, in this numerical, it says that a viewing screen is separated from a double slit by 4.8 meters. That is, the screen and the slit separation is 4.8 meters. That's what they are discussing is this width. And the distance between the two slits. So, this is the small d, that is 0.03 millimeter. And we are using a monochromatic light which is directed on the double slit, which forms a interference pattern on the screen. You will be noticing the first dark fringe at 4.5 centimeters from the center line. So from here, you will have the first dark fringe at, let us say, at 4.5 centimeters. So you'll be at this position, you'll be having first dark fringe from the center line. So they are asking you to calculate what is the wavelength and what is the distance between the two bright fringes. So we all know that y dark is equal to m plus half lambda by d. Then we can write wavelength is equal to y dark d into m plus half lambda. So the wavelength is 562 nanometer. I hope all of you got the same wavelength. Did anyone got something else, something different from this answer?
Sir, 187.5 nanometers.
No, sir, I got same.
Please check your calculation in that case. You can make a note of it. Later you can check at the end of the class where you went wrong. I think when we say the first dark fringe, most of you might have put m is equal to 1, right? Maybe there.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's where you go wrong here. When we say the first dark fringe, it is m is equal to 0. In case of bright, it is m is 1 because we have a central maxima over here. Okay, when you say first dark fringe, it will be m corresponding to 0. If I say 10th dark fringe, m value will be, what is the m value? It will be 9. What is the distance between the adjacent fringes? So it is, we all know that it is L lambda by D. So it is nothing but delta y is equal to 9 centimeter. I hope you got both these values correct. If not, just make a note of the equation and answer. Later on, please check it. If anyone has a query, please feel free to ask me.
So is it nanometer? Is it nanometer 10 power minus 9?
Yes, 10 power minus 9 is nanometer. 10 power minus 9 meters or 10 to the power of minus 9. No, you
I
got
got the answer as 5.62 into 10 power minus 7.
Minus 7. That is correct.
And how is it?
That is in meters. 562 no. 5.6 means what? This is 562.
Yeah. Okay. You wrote it as fine.
5.62 is 10 to minus 7. If you make 562 it is 10 to the power of minus 9 meters or
Yes,
562 nanometers.
Yes, sir.
So will we be allowed to use calculator in the exam?
Yeah, you are in the system itself will be having a calculator. Okay. In the EPAD, in the system itself will be having a calculator. Of course, you will be allowed to use the calculator. Don't worry about it. Calculator will be given in physics.
So yes? I got answer wrong because I took m as 1.
Please note, the first dark fringe is m is 0. Okay. The order, m is the order of the ring. If it is 10th dark fringe, it is m value should be 9. This is where most of you will commit mistakes. That's why you'll get different wavelengths. Okay, keep that in mind. When you say first dark fringe, it is M is 0. If you say 10, it is 9. That problem is not there for the bright fringe because M is equal to 0 corresponds to a central maxima. You don't have something called central minima. Yes? Shall we move to the next numerical if you are all done with it?
Yes, sir.
Shall we? If you are not done, please make a note of it. Note the formula and answer, and please check the same at sometime after the class. Okay. You have a light source which is emitting the visible light as two wavelengths. One is corresponding to 430 nanometer, and you have corresponding to 510 nanometer. Now, the source is used in double slit experiment, which L is 1.5 meter. L is the screen and the slit separation, and D is the separation between the slits, which is 0.025 millimeter. Now, find the separation distance between third order bright fringes of these two wavelengths. Since you are using two wavelengths, right? One corresponding to 430, another corresponding to 510. So you will have two, what I can say, fringe patterns corresponding to one is 430 is blue, another maybe is green. They are asking you what is the distance between third order bright fringe of blue, 430 and green. Just an example I'm just drawing here. This is what, let us say it is blue corresponding to 1, 2, 3. This is right, and that, and let us say green may be slightly shifted. So they will not be in line. There may be slight shift may be there. Okay, if this is the first, second, and third. What is the separation distance between the blue and the green on the screen? I hope the question is clear to you.
Yes, sir.
So, sir, in this M is equal to 3, na?
Which one? Third bright fringe. Yes, M is 3.
Okay.
Third bright fringe. I'm sorry today, so I gave the break at little later stage. Okay, so next class onwards, you can expect a break at the mid of the class. Okay, it's a 1.5 hour session, so I'll be giving a break in between. Okay, I was expecting these numericals to come somewhere around 2:50, so I think I was quite bit slow today. Somebody was requesting for go little slow, so, but sorry, we'll try to fix your break, maybe 5 to 10 minutes break in between, somewhere at 2:45 for 2 to 3:30 session, and similarly on 8 to 9:30 session, somewhere at 8:50 or so. Okay. If you wish, otherwise I can continue the session continuously till for 1.5 hours. I feel a 5 minutes break is better for you also as well as for me also.
Yes, sir.
Anyone has arrived at the answer? Kushi Agarwal, yeah, now I'm just going through the chat.
Sir,
1.44 is somewhere, Kushi Agarwal is mentioning she got 1.44.
So 1.44 into 10 raised to minus 2 meters.
Minus 2 meters. So she has mentioned centimeters. That's correct. So you have y dash bright and y bright. That is for two different wavelengths are there. We'll write as m lambda dash and m lambda. So m is bright here So L and D remains the same, right? So separation is 1.44 centimeter. So you are right. I hope the time which is given to you for discussing the numericals are sufficient enough. Please note, if you need more time, let me know. Until everyone is done with it, so then only I'll be proceeding to the next numerical. If somebody has not completed the numerical, have a query, you are always welcome to get it clear. Please don't hesitate to ask any questions. And don't forget to see the holograms. If you have not observed the holograms, soon after the class, you can just check any one of your mark cards or emission certificates of your vehicles will carry a hologram.
Sir, one doubt.
Yes.
Sir, here the light sources, won't they be incoherent?
Which light sources?
I mean different wavelengths, so.
No, any light source if you take, you can't trigger the atoms. If you take two separate light sources, you can't trigger the atoms simultaneously, right? There will be delay in triggering this atom. Difference will be there. So what exactly is your question?
Sir, understood, no problem.
So the other one, which will be, if you are once you are into the campus, you will be using something called sodium vapor lamp. That is also coherent. We can say nearly coherent, nearly monochromatic source of light. Okay, it's also as a coherence, but the degree of coherence is very less compared to the laser light. Shall we move to the next problem? Shall we do one problem today before winding up the session?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Shall we?
Yes, sir.
If you are okay with it, otherwise we will wind up we'll start the next class.
Yes,
Shall
sir.
we
One
take up
more question.
One more.
Next class. So next class.
next class?
Yes, sir.
Only two voices I'm able to hear.
So it will just waste time in the next class. We can do it right now.
Okay, that would be better. I also feel so. I'm sorry. So let's start with this numerical and wind up today. Okay. Quickly do it. It should not take more than 2 minutes to solve this. So in this experiment, yes. Any queries? Okay, let me complete. An N-center experiment is performed with a monochromatic light. The separation between the slits is 0.5 millimeter. The interference pattern on the screen is 3.3 meter away from the first side maximum, 3.4 millimeter from the center of the screen. What is the wavelength? So that means the two slit, small d is 0.5, L is 3.3 meters, and you have a first side maximum which is 3.4 millimeter from the center of the pattern. You are asked to compute the wavelength. Palnil Kumar, yeah, we can give some of there are questions for homework also. Please note in the course material which is marked as bold, some of them is homework. All of them I will not be doing it. Some of the problem of course is for homework. if there are 10 problems, maybe some 4 to 5 problems I will be solving here. Some another 4 to 5 problems will be for you people to solve. That's why you can notice here, if it is continued, it's not P3 I have not solved. If you observe carefully, this is a P4. P3 is for you to solve. P3 problem number 3 is for you people to solve. So
sir, is the answer 5151 nanometers?
Yes, I think so. It is true. It is 515. So you have the bright fringe. In that case, you have to use the expression y is equal to L m lambda. L is given, D is given, and they are telling first side. First side is m corresponding to what is the value? Sorry, yeah, the y bright. Y bright is already given. What is the y bright? What is the value of y bright? 3.4 millimeter, right? Y bright is 3.4 millimeter, and D is 0.5, and m is always 1. So L is 3.3. So you get wavelength as 515 nanometer. So very good. So most of you have done the problems. I'm happy to see that everyone is participating. So I hope you are honestly doing on your own. See, unfortunately, because of this current situation, I'm not be able to monitor each one of you personally, whether you are doing it or not. But still, I will stay in the session for some more time. If anyone has a query, you can ask me. If there are no queries, those who don't have queries can leave this channel meeting. I hope my voice is audible. Just to get a first feedback from your side on the first day of the class. I hope my voice is clear to you and audible.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Just
Thank you,
let
sir.
me know. Just let me know whether I need to go further slow. Just let me know.
No, sir. The space is fine, sir.
Okay, fine.
Yes, sir, a bit slower would
Sir, is
help
attendance
more.
done, sir?
Yes.
Is attendance taken, sir?
Yeah, it's already noted and it's auto recorded also. Both I have done it. Okay. So thank you very much for joining. Have a good day. And those who have doubts, you can still stay back. I'll clear your queries and then close the session. Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Those who don't have any queries, you can leave the channel. Have a good day and weekend. Bye bye from now.
Thank you, sir. You too, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Sir,
So one thing.
Yes.
So could you give like lesser time for the problems and explain the explanation for a longer time? That would make it better.
Okay. That I will do that. Okay. So not
Yes,
an
sir.
issue.
Thank you.
hello, sir. I wanted
Yes.
to ask, is the course material available in the Teams now?
It is already available. Please check in the file section. I have uploaded it. The entire course material is available. Okay.
Okay.
You can see a PDF file. In that, you can start solving the problem number 3. See some problem.
So, sir, which sums are for homework? Only problem 3?
No. I will be solving. The chapter is not over. I will be telling you which. I was expecting to complete few more problems, and then I was thought of telling you. Okay. So problem 3 is you are supposed to do. So I'll be solving some problems. We have made some problems as bold. Some problems have not been made bold. Some of them is for you people to solve, and the rest is for us to solve in the class. Okay. Because this exercise makes you more confident in solving the problems on your own and in your own way and different way. Of course, it is not that we will leave it as such. If you have still any query in those problems, you always welcome. We can discuss with you. And somebody is asking, how does the sunlight show interference pattern? Of course, you will get an interference pattern, but with the multiple colors. There will be sometimes overlap since it is